but it was crazy. A lot of the boys that played with at West Brom, some of them were ball boys at the game. So I'm
Crazy.
seeing like all my friends and everything. Yeah, I'm just warming up as normal, just doing as you do on the bench, just taking everything in. And then obviously Gaffer says, go for a run. It's like 70 something minutes. You're coming on. I'm like he's joking.
Going to Liverpool. I heard so many stories about like how it is to play for the club. Like it's something that it's just different. That you can't imagine it. Like the worldwide velocity behind it, and also the people from the city, how passionate they are. Like just talk about like that whole transition, and you basically become like probably a sensation at the time overnight. Like
I don't have a bad word to say about that club. Definitely. I mean, it's huge, and I felt it straight away. I think I remember I was in school one day, and some articles like came out that I was going to Liverpool. Basically, Liverpool are getting this kid from Birmingham. Blah blah blah. Um, Within like a few hours, thousands of followers on Twitter. This is when Twitter's just come out. I've got my little BlackBerry. I'm like, I'm seeing notifications and fans saying welcome, welcome. I'm thinking, wow, it's crazy. So I definitely felt it in terms of the welcoming and the fan base that the club has is huge. And then the history that comes obviously along with of representing a club like that. Like I said, you take everything so seriously at that age. And I remember I went to a tournament with I think it was the 96 birthdays because they do when they do the foreign tournaments at that age
yeah,
because it's different with the ages in England with Liverpool, and that was obviously the first time I played. And I just remember putting on a shirt and just being like, wow, it's Liverpool. And I remember at the time, Liverpool they were sponsored by Adidas, and they had those tight fitting shirts. And I remember like playing against Liverpool when I was a kid, and they used to come out in these fitted shirts. Like,
yeah.
yo, Liverpool's a bit mad, you know. And you used to go to the academy, and be like, why? And I was there, so obviously it was special. It's definitely special.
Yeah, man. Nah, I heard mad stories about Liverpool, and when you're young, especially. I always wanted to ask you, how was it going to the school there? Because that's like
Different.
something that like everyone knows that if you sign for Liverpool and you're a young player, you go to the school. So how was that?
It was different for me. Yeah, schooling was different because I ended up going to 3 secondary schools. I went to a school in Birmingham, and then I moved to the school that was close to the West Brom ground because West Brom had like a connection with that school basically, and they wanted a lot of players to go there. So I ended up going to that school, and then obviously when I moved to Liverpool, it was something similar but in Liverpool. So I ended up going to 3 different secondary schools. But yeah, it was good. The way they look after the players, the way they cater to their young players, and gear everything towards developing the player, obviously as a person, educationally, and then obviously with football, it's you can't fault it. The system they have there is unbelievable. There's a building at the school just for young Liverpool
Yeah,
players. When I was going, it was in the starting stages, but I think by the time I left Liverpool, there was 30, 40 kids in
crazy.
the school that were Liverpool players. Yeah, something crazy like that. Bust them in every day, and then they'd be leaving from there, going straight to training. I remember it was a big change for me because I used to train a lot, obviously at West Brom, but then when I then went to Liverpool, I was in year 10 at the time, and I used to. My dad would drop me to school in the morning. It would be every single day, 5 days a week. You'd leave straight from school with the players bus straight to the academy. You'd eat, you'd train, and then obviously go home I think it was on a Wednesday and a Friday. You'd leave school at lunchtime and go and train in the afternoon, then train again in the evening. So it was a crazy schedule, which took its toll. I ended up having quite a few injuries at those age just through adjusting to training so much. You know what I mean? But yeah, it was really good, and the whole system there, you can't fault it. definitely.
Yeah, man. Obviously for you, you're from Birmingham, so how was the transition from the two cities, like living in Liverpool to Birmingham? What are the similarities and differences? How did you find it?
Um, it's very different, very different. Once you move to Liverpool, you quickly realize that the whole city is just orientated around football. It's
Hmm.
crazy. I had no idea that like you've got Stanley Park, and then on one side of the park you've got Anfield, and then the other side of the park you've got Goodison Park.
Crazy. Yeah.
It's like there's nothing like that in Birmingham. I don't think there's anything like that in London either. Do you know what I mean? It's that close. Every time you get into a taxi, it's are you red or blue? Like, you know what I mean? It's just the city's just orientated around football. You got in the city centre. One of the first things I saw was a new shopping centre called Liverpool One. So Liverpool opened their club shop there and named it Liverpool One. So when Everton opened their club shop right next door, call it Everton Two. Like,
Yeah.
it just sums up the city. Do you know what I mean? It just sums it up. But yeah, man, it's a special place, definitely.
So from then on, you've experienced all that. Did your dad moved up there with you?
Yeah. When my dad moved with me, they moved me and my dad up there, which was cool, which is different. I was obviously used to living with my mother back home. Obviously, my dad was the one that supported me mostly with my football. So I have two younger brothers. My mum, they stayed down in Birmingham, and I moved to Liverpool with my dad. Obviously, 14 at the time. Yeah.
Yeah. So but even so, I can imagine your dad still put roles and chores on you and things that you had to do, right?
Yeah, of course, of course. I mean, my dad's old school Jamaican, you know what I
Yeah.
mean? So yeah, I'm doing all this training, but I gotta do my cleaning, I gotta stay on top of things, and it's definitely gonna keep me grounded along with everything else that's going on.
So yeah, taking all of that in and being there for a couple years now, you end up making your debut and you end up becoming the youngest player to play for Liverpool. That is crazy. Like that's historic. Like
Yeah,
at the time,
definitely.
did you take that in, or did you take it in afterwards? Like we just mentioned, where you're going at 100 miles per hour, you don't realize like what you've done.
Yeah. I mean, everything happened so quickly. Obviously, I was in year 11 at the time, so I'd been in Liverpool about just over a year. Um, I started with the under 16s. And then the next season, the plan was to be with the youth team, the under 18s. And obviously, I was going to be turning 16 that season. But I think at this point, Brendan Rodgers came in over the summer. And in that pre-season, I was with the youth team, and I scored a bunch of goals. So in all the pre-season friendlies, it was like hat tricks and twos
I
and threes
remember.
every.
I remember.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and I never forget it. I'm not sure if it was an international break, but whenever it was an international break anyway, Rogers would always call some of the young players to come and train with the first team. And I promise you, that first training session I had with the first team was the best training session I've ever had in my life.
Wow.
Like everything I touched was a goal. Like I remember the games at the end, I must have scored about 6, 7 goals. Like just I don't know where it came from, but I was just so happy to be there, and everything went for me. And I think Rogers called me over at the end of the session and was like, "Yeah, I really like you, and you're gonna be up here more, etc., etc." So I started training there a bit more, and I was still scoring goals in all the games I was playing with the youth teams, and I played a couple games with the 21s and stuff. Was doing well, so came to the first League Cup game, and I was in the squad. Funny enough, it was against West Brom. So traveled down with the team, stayed in a hotel, etc. Um, went to the game, and at the hotel, obviously found out I was on the bench. I thought I would just be traveling. Ended up finding out, wow, I'm on the bench, so that's cool. Warmed up, etc. with the team. My family's there. Obviously, my mom, dad, my brothers, everybody, all my friends. And a lot of the boys, it was crazy. A lot of the boys that I played with at West Brom, Some of them were ball boys at the game. So I'm
Crazy.
seeing like all my friends and everything. Yeah, I'm just warming up as normal, just doing as you do on the bench, just taking everything in, and then obviously Gaffer says, "Go for a run." It's like 70 something minutes. You're coming on. I'm like, he's joking. Happened. Never forget it.
Crazy stuff, man. So I got two questions. I remember during that time where you said you were scoring goals for, was it the youth team or reserves?
The youth team firstly, yeah. But I think because it was pre-season friendlies, it was like a mix of the
Yeah.
youth team and the, you know what I mean? Yeah,
And I remember, um, I don't know why I remember this, but for some reason, it's like at that moment in time, did you feel like maybe you should have been, you were doing well and you should have been playing at a higher level, like reserves or something? For some reason, I remember that. I remember like
um,
one of the games you were angry or something happened. I can't remember what happened.
nah, I don't think at that time. I think maybe a year later, or yeah, a year and a half later, or something like that. Because I had what happened with me is I had this crazy period where I just come out of under 16. Basically, for me, I started at Liverpool playing under 16s, but when I was at West Brom, I'd been playing under 16 since I was at 12. So like
Yeah, it's
I
normal.
was like, I can play higher than this, but it wasn't anything anyway. I played the season there. At the end of that first season, I played some games with the youth team anyway. But yeah, so because it was a mixture of like the under 18s and the second team at that stage in preseason, I wasn't too fussed. But what I was going to say is, after this period where I made my debut, scoring all these goals, etc., I started struggling with injuries, and then it was like a year later, maybe a year and a half later, and because of all the injuries I had, I hadn't really had any progression, and it was like I had to then rebuild because I was getting injured so much. I had to rebuild my body and then rebuild in terms of football and progression because it was like I'd stagnated a little bit. You know what I mean?
All
So
right,
yeah,
let's go back to the debut. The second point I wanted to make was you're playing in front of your friends, your family, um, they're ball boys. Um, you're the youngest player on the pitch by far.
yeah,
Um, what would you say in terms of that, like how you felt in that moment? Because when you're young, you don't take it in as when you're
yeah,
older. I feel like when you're older, maybe like obviously when you're young, you put a lot of pressure on yourself,
yeah,
and it's normal. But because you're doing so well anyway, it's like even if you didn't come on that day, it would be like, yeah, I didn't come on, but I'm with the first team. You know what I mean?
yeah. Still a
But
huge experience.
yeah, it's still a huge experience. But like, when you get older, your mindset maybe starts to change. So what would you say your mindset is when you're young, which enabled you, say, for example, to go with the first team, first training session, bang in all those goals, do it again week after week with the first team, and then basically get selected to be on the bench and basically come on and have a good game for a 16-year-old. How would you say the mentality is different from a 16-year-old in his stride like that compared to like when you're older?
I think at that age, I just had no fear. Like at that age, whenever I was on the pitch, whenever I was training, I used to. It was like I was just playing with my boys in the park. Do you know what I mean? Like I would try anything. I'll shoot from anywhere. I'll try any skill, and 8 times out of 10, it's gonna work.
Mm.
It was working. I mean, so it was just like you had no fear. Like it's not to say you didn't respect who you were playing against, but you didn't think about it. Like it doesn't matter if this guy played in the World Cup for England or whatever. Like I'm gonna try and make him. Do you know what I mean? Like
Yeah,
you have
yeah,
no you have no fear at that age. And then I think when you get a bit older, you start to think about things more. I then came in contact with coaches that wanted to coach me a lot more and how I could incorporate the way I play into the professional game. Whereas I just wanted to enjoy the ball every time I had it. Do you know what I mean? So yeah, I definitely think it's just a matter of having no fear and just trying anything and everything.
yeah. I would say anyone watching this, when you're young, I would say, and you're really doing well and stuff, kind of never lose that kind of mentality because with that mentality, it's scary. It's really scary. When you have that, you're playing fearless. You're playing free, you know. And then
Mm,
when you're in that mode, you're always going to play better 9 times out of 10 than in a different mindset where you're thinking too much and everything like that. Of course, you have to have preparation, and you have to have hard work to get you to where you are, which will prepare you for the moment. So,
mm.
like, you know, all those hard years working, going to training 5 times a week, doing double sessions, all of that plays a part into, you know, coming onto the pitch at 16 and doing well. But in terms of your mentality, I would say the mentality you just described, that is like the something that you should never lose, basically.
Definitely, definitely. I think as you get older, coaches have more of an influence on your game. They want you to play a certain way. They want you to fit into how they see their team, or you start having to play for results, and it's less about you as an individual, and you have to play your part in the team. But within that, you have to kind of understand that you're put in that team for a reason because of the things that you can do. Do you know what I mean? So you can't lose that. You still have to play free to some extent and enjoy yourself, express yourself in certain ways, and not always 100% conform to what a certain coach is saying, because realistically, I'm gonna say it, coaching talent out of players is real. Do you know
Yeah,
what I mean? It definitely
100%.
is.
Yeah, yeah.
As young players, you definitely have to keep that thing that makes you different. Certain types of players, anyway, in certain positions, I think defenders and goalkeepers, etc., can get away with different things. But as when
Mm.
you're a striker and attacker, and you have something that differentiates you from other players, and you have something that's a bit different, you definitely have to keep that.
100%, 100% agree. So you just mentioned after that kind of period, you struggled with a few injuries and stuff. But the thing that sticks out in my head is two things. Number one, you had a great bounce back from all of that because you ended up like getting another opportunity to play for Liverpool.
Mm.
And number two, I would say advice to young people. This is the flip side of the coin. You don't realize when you're in the moment, right? So you played that FA Cup game and you scored, and you were 18, right? Or 19?
Yeah, yeah, 18, 18.
18. And I guarantee you, your mindset at that stage, of course, you have a winning mentality and you wanna exceed levels and you wanna be playing week in, week out for your club, right? But still, during that time, to even play at 18, that is still big to play for Liverpool at 18. But at the
Yeah.
time, you probably wouldn't realize that. You probably would have said at the time, I should have got a chance by now again, you know? Or,
But for me, it wasn't like I should have got a chance by now. In terms of somebody else should have handed me the opportunity, it was just like I want more from myself. Like for me, it was like I was 16, made my debut, and from then it should have been steps that I took. Do you know what I mean? And through because of injuries, etc., I wasn't able to take them steps. So then I went through a lot in terms of it was like basically like a year of just solid injuries, and then a year and a half really, and then I remember at the end of that season, the summer, um, I had to start doing yoga, hot yoga. It's like all the players were going on holiday and stuff, but that summer I just stayed in Liverpool. I was like, I just need to get myself right, so I had to start doing hot yoga like 3 times a week just to increase my flexibility because I was getting a lot of muscle injuries. I then had to see a strength and conditioning coach to put on a bit of mass and get stronger. Then I had to also see like a guy to correct my running technique, so that the way I was moving functionally, making sure that wasn't causing me
your
any injuries
mechanics.
because I was having a lot of muscle injuries. Yeah, I was having a lot of muscle injuries, and I was also having a lot of growth-related joint knee injuries and stuff like that. So yeah, I just had to do a lot to get myself right. I then went into the that season with Liverpool's youth team. Bearing in mind, I'm 18 now. At the start of this, I'm a September birthday, so I'm
Mm.
18 at the start of the season, my 18th birthday, and I was playing in an under 18s youth game um, on my 18th birthday. And in my mind, I know why I'm there, but I'm so motivated and I'm so angry because 2 years ago I was making my debut. Now 2 years later, I'm playing under 18s. Do you know what I mean? So I just put in all that work and then started the season there, basically progressed, and then by the end of that season, I was back making appearances for the first team. So obviously, yeah, it all worked out.
I think I played against you. I don't. Yeah, I remember in the tournament. Actually, it was at Tottenham training ground. So for you to go from that to at the end of that season, playing for the first team again and scoring, like how did that make you feel, and what was your mentality after that?
At that point, I was just excited. I was humbled by the whole experience. I felt like I'd put in a lot of work and it was starting to pay off. Things were getting back on track for me and I was where I wanted to be. So yeah, I was definitely happy, but I was very aware of the work that I'd put in and I was kind of happy with myself that I felt like I'd pushed through a big barrier. Do you know what I mean? And now I can see that I was only at the start of all the obstacles and the trials and tribulations, the ups and the downs that you're going to experience in football. But yeah, I was very happy at that point, definitely.